let's take a look at 8, 9, and 10 together since they're asking the same thing and looking at the same options. And before we actually look at the problems, let's run down these choices so we can recall what each of these methods are. So the first one on our list is simple random sample, or SRS. And what does that one represent is, recall, it's where we just have all of the, everyone in the population just thrown in and into one big group, and we're just trying to select our random sample from that entire population. Everything's just completely random. There's no groups, no nothing. We just have to make sure we use some kind of random method to select any group of n, whatever our n is, our sample size, from this group. If we look at stratified and cluster, these are the two that usually people get confused. Both of these options have groups. And so if you recall, what's the main difference between stratified and cluster is that stratified, every group has representation. Versus cluster, we're only going to select some of the groups and then get everyone from that group. But not every group has representation, meaning only some groups are selected. Then we have systematic. And if you recall what systematic looks like, this is usually like, kind of like a robot type of thing. When you think of something systematic, it just follows some kind of pattern. Like maybe checks every second or every third thing that comes out. And the convenience is the one where there's no randomness. It's our bad, horrible form of sampling where we don't want to use that. It has no randomness, and we just try to find something that's convenient and easy for us to get. All right. So now that we've reviewed those 5 methods, let's go in and read through these problems and see if we can identify them. So number 8 says, J&J Corporation gives each employee a 3-digit identification number. In order to access employee satisfaction, the J&J Corporation used a random number generator to select 100 ID numbers. Identify the sampling method used. In this case, it looks like we just have all these ID numbers, and we're just trying to select 100 of them. So everything's in one big group. We're just selecting out 100 out of that group. So any 100, doesn't matter which group of 100 we choose. So that's just a simple random sample. Number 9 says, the employees in a local college are categorized as either faculty, classified, or administration, and a sample of employees are selected to participate in a focus group on the direction of the college. They randomly select employees from each category to ensure that every group has representation in their study. Which type of sampling strategy was used? So first of all, we have these categories or groups, faculty, classified, and administration. So we know it's either going to be stratified or clustered. And then we select from every group. And it tells us specifically that every group has representation. Well, what method is that? That's the stratified. For stratified, we make sure that every group has a say. So that one would be C. Finally, number 10. There are 12 streets in a given Santa Ana neighborhood, and the neighborhood association wishes to perform a study on these types of activities the residents wish to see. They randomly select 2 streets from the 12 and survey all the residents who live on those streets. What type of sampling strategy was used? So again, we have these streets with multiple homes on them. So we're separating them into groups or streets. And then we look at how they're selecting them. Not every street is getting representation. In fact, only 2 of those streets are being sampled. So some of the groups are getting representation. That's our cluster method.